The Pentagon is warning Congress that funds for Ukraine is depleting and they need to come up with something right now to help replenish this fund. If not, we're going to have bigger problems down the line. Let's go over what's going on. It's no secret what happened the other day in Congress is embarrassing and just stupid. I'm honestly embarrassed of our Congress and what they did the other day just to fund the U.S. government for just another 45 days. For those who are unaware, they had to cut off $6 billion worth of funds for Ukraine in order to satisfy Republicans because they want deep, deep cuts, and that looks to be the first thing that they want to cut. Interestingly enough, the Republicans actually want to tie together Ukrainian support with southern border protection and say if we're not going to get the southern border funded, we're not going to fund Ukraine, which makes no sense whatsoever. There is no active war taking place on our southern border. You know, people aren't firing weapons into our southern border. People aren't dying, okay? In Texas and down there in the border, there's no one fighting, okay, at the southern border. There's people dying in Ukraine, people fighting for their country to be free because we took their nukes away and their weapons in the 90s. We promised to protect them, and for us to not fund it is just stupid. Yes, you Congress people, you're stupid. That being said, the Pentagon is stating that, hey, they need more because if we don't give them more, they're not going to do well, and Russia could conquer them. And then when Russia conquers them, they become a big problem because then we, U.S., have to send our own sons and daughters to the front lines to fight and die because we were stupid. And Congressman, you're stupid. I've been sick, so I haven't had time to rant on this. So that being said, Lloyd Austin said on Saturday, we need Congress to live up to the American commitment and provide urgently needed assistance to Ukraine. Right now, only $1.6 billion is left in funding, which in terms of war, that's not a lot at all. And I want to remind people, because there's a lot of really uneducated people right now when it comes to this war, and I don't really blame them. I kind of blame the news to kind of not explain these things out, because I feel like they just want to just rile the people up and not actually give them all the information they need to make a smart and educated decision. When we're talking about giving money to Ukraine, it actually means giving money to people here in the U.S., Let me explain. When Ukraine says we need 155mm shells and we need them now, who is going to make those shells? Well, there's only X amount of companies here in the U.S. that does it, and since the war began, there's been hundreds of new jobs created to make this ammunition. When Ukraine says we need to buy, 200 million, 300 million of these, Ukraine doesn't actually have a check that they have. It's not like we give them here's $7 billion of a check, go spend it wherever. It's them saying, here's money in the U.S. It's hidden here, not hidden, but being held here. It's that money that then gets transferred to U.S. companies that then makes this ammunition. So that money is staying here in the U.S. and is not only going to the companies, but also going to the people who own the companies, also the people who are working at those companies. So the money is staying here. That money essentially is keeping our economy alive. Remember, in war, there's a lot of money to be made, and right now, the U.S., we're making all the money. Not only are we getting the money that we're also putting aside for Ukraine, we're also getting money from other countries that either donated things to Ukraine and need to buy more, or have seen some of the equipment used in the front lines that we already make, and went, wow, we need that. And yes, we're talking about fighter jets, because right now F-16s are disappearing out of NATO countries and need to be replaced with newer stuff that we only have here in the U.S., which can only be produced here in the U.S. by Americans. So yeah, that money is staying here. Granted, there is some humanitarian money and other money that goes to Ukraine, building up infrastructure that is needed, that Ukraine has to have, but for the most part, that money is staying here. So when you see those memes of saying Ukraine has all this money, they don't. The money is here. They're getting things with that money that we here is keeping our economy alive. Probably one of the main reasons why we haven't really had a crazy recession is because of this war. Yes, I've been sick, which is why I've kept this rant in, and now it's finally coming out. And I think you kind of agree. That being said, now that we're 5 minutes into this video, there's only $1.6 billion left in that original funding for Ukraine, and we have to get something funded, something passed. And it has to be something not tied with the southern border, because that makes no sense. So if you're getting angry like me, share this video. I don't care if you rip it down and re-upload it. I really don't. What's going on right now is not okay. And if you seriously don't understand how this could be really bad, not for Ukraine, but for America down the line, then, I don't know, ask me a question. I'll try to answer it for you, because it's mind-boggling me that we've got people who think that this is okay. How? What is your thinking? Joe Biden did say recently that he believes that Congress will fulfill more funding for Ukraine very soon, but the question is still on the table. Why is this something that they decided to hold back on? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's a drop in the bucket when it comes to the defense, and imagine what we're getting for the money that we're spending. Imagine, we pretty much destroyed half of the Russian military. Half of it's gone. And we didn't send a single soldier. Not one American who is enlisted American has been lost. On top of that, we've also ruined Russia's economy. This is by far the longest video I've done on TikTok, which just shows you how important it is that Ukraine gets the funding it needs. So please share this video, and for everything Ukraine, be sure to follow me for more.